Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Tami, the creator of the blog and this YouTube channel called Nutmeg Notebook. And this is where we share with you all about a whole food, plant-based lifestyle. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a special guest. We have a wonderful cooking class that we are doing for you for free today. If you have questions during the class, feel free to put those questions in the chat feed. We just ask that you would preface the questions with 3 question marks and end with 3 question marks. That will just help the questions pop out to Tom as he moderates the chat. We also have 2 moderators in the chat feed. We have Jesse and Tiffany, and they can help answer questions. And if we, for some reason, miss your question, they will repost it for us so that we be sure to answer everyone's questions. So let me tell you about our guest chef today. It's my dear friend, Elspeth Feldman. She is widely recognized as the Speedy Vegan. You can follow her on Instagram and Facebook. She is passionate and an innovative cooking instructor who uniquely fuses culture and cuisine in her work and proudly serves a dynamic global following. Her mission is to deliver exceptional recipe creations, which, trust me, they are, through an extensive body of online and broadcast work, focusing on a whole food, plant-based approach to everyday and special occasion meals that are, in her words, delicious, nutritious, fast, and fresh. Elspeth's creations and cooking classes are available online at speedyvegan.com, and her cooking videos are featured on the Vegan News Daily YouTube channel. Thank you and welcome, please, Elspeth. Good morning.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here today. It's wonderful to be here.
Well, I'm so excited because, Elspeth, I have made so many of your recipes and I absolutely love them. And you do introduce us to a lot of different types of cuisine, which I really love. And that comes from the fact that you traveled a lot and have lived in many different countries.
Yes, indeed. I'm living here on the East Coast of the United States right now, but I was born and raised in Zimbabwe. And then as a 18-year-old in early 20s, I did a lot of backpacking around the world and lived in different places before settling here in the United States. And I continue to travel a bunch with my husband and not so much with my family anymore because my kids are now, late 20s. So, but we still do travel together. And everywhere I go, I like to pick up a little bit of the culture and figure out what the food is and how I can bring the vacations home with us and prepare some of the meals that we have on vacation here in my kitchen. So it kind of extends the vacation. So
it does. And I love that. And because you can make those things at home, you can make them healthy and not have to worry about what's in them or,
Yes, exactly. It's so nice to be able to say, gee, I can do this without oil, without sugar, and without salt, and really up the flavors and get everything that you need out of the dish, but without having any of those things that you don't want in it. So yeah,
absolutely. So because you make such a wide variety of cuisines, are there any that you're particularly fond of? Do you have favorites?
Do I have favorites? Well, I'm a big salad eater like you, so salads of every variety. But I particularly love Indian food, and I'll tell you why. The reason is that I grew up in Zimbabwe, but then I finished high school in South Africa, and it was in a city called Durban. And Durban was home to the most Indian people outside of India anywhere in the world live in Durban. So the city is like full of, there are a lot of mosques, there were spice markets, the aromas of curries and spices just, permeate the streets because there are so many Indian food restaurants. And so and even when I was growing up in Zimbabwe, we would have Indian food at least once a month. So I think the sort of British, Zimbabwe was a British colony, and the British Indian influence was very strong. So we had a lot of Indian food growing up. So Indian food is very high on my list, and that's what I'm going to be doing here today. But gee, I love Costa Rican cuisine, and that's we can talk about that later. It's one of the blue zones, and I just love all the food down there. Costa Rica is a very near and dear to our heart. I love Mediterranean food. Tammy, I think I just love food. So
it sounds like it. But I didn't have Indian food. I grew up in the Midwest, and we just didn't have any of that anywhere near us. I didn't have it until about 15 years ago, and was the first time I had Indian food, and I absolutely love it. I love all those different, very like pungent spices. I just love it. It's so different than anything I ever had growing up.
yeah, I was quite surprised when I came to this country, and I talk about making curry. People were like, "Well, what is curry?" And one of the cooking classes that I did do was an Indian cooking class, which is in our Fall in Love with Flavors cooking series, which is on my website. And I just want to clarify, my website is the Speedy Vegan, or the Speedy Vegan, not just Speedy Vegan. So it's thespeedyvegan.com. And you can see all of my cooking classes there. And so the Indian cooking class that we did, we had a whole lot of curries. These recipes are adapted from the recipes in that class. And I don't know where I was going with that. Something about, what were we talking about before?
About that when you first came.
Right.
Yeah. And so, when you first came to this country.
Yeah, I was surprised when people would talk about never having had Indian food. I was like, how is that possible? And I don't know if you've ever traveled to London, but there's there's so much great Indian food in London as well. So I just was really surprised that so many Americans had never experienced Indian food. And I've been able to introduce it to a lot of people, and I am really happy about that because it's so full of spices and as I said, in the show notes, we know that all these spices and herbs, are really medicine, not just food. So they not only bring flavor and aroma and color to the dishes, they're also very high in antioxidants. They're anti-inflammatory, anti-carcinogenic, anti-tumor. I forget, tumor growing. I forget the term for that. And they, lower your glucose levels and cholesterol as well. So spices are definitely have a lot of medicinal properties. And so I really look at my spice cabinet as, what a medicine cabinet is. There's just so much there. So these Indian foods are a great way to get a lot of these spices and fresh herbs as well, which we'll do with the coriander and mint chutney. So
absolutely. And Indian food is so easy to make vegan. It's so easy and easy to adapt it to be oil and sugar free as well, which I also love that your recipes, I can eat all of your recipes.
Yes.
So you fit into a healthy vegan lifestyle quite easily. So tell us what you're going to make today, and go ahead and get started if you wish.
Yeah, I'm going to get started on the samosas. I have a pan. This is just a stainless steel pan that I've already started to heat up, because with stainless steel, if you turn the heat on and you get the pan really hot, it forms like a little nonstick layer. So I don't use oil in my cooking, and I know a lot of you don't. So I'm going to throw my onions into the pan and get those cooking. Just going to grab a wooden spoon. I'm very careful to grab the wooden spoon that has been turmeric already. I don't want to turmeric all of my wooden spoons. So I'm just going to let this onion just sizzle in here a little bit and get a little bit caramelized, but not too much. We're going to let it go for a couple of minutes. And then I did go ahead and I already cooked up some potatoes, which I did peel, and some butternut cubes. So these I just cooked in a pot with some water for about 10, 15 minutes. So these are already cooked in advance. So it does say in the recipe to go ahead and cook them. You can steam them. You can cook them in the Instant Pot, but I prefer to just boil them in some water. And you could make the entire filling for the samosas in advance. I could have made it yesterday and then just pulled it out today to assemble them. So that's one of the things I absolutely love about this recipe. So I'm getting some good caramelization here. And then I'm actually going to look at I printed out, to print out the recipes because I'm always just trying to do it by memory, but there's so many ingredients in these ones that I wanted to just have a printout. So next up, I'm going to add some garlic. And what I do with garlic is I buy those big bags of already peeled garlic, and I just use, I think a lot of you have this wonderful garlic mincer, or I also use it for ginger. This is just a Tupperware product. So I can mince in bulk. And I'm just going to add a little bit of garlic here.
Elspeth, I just want to tell everyone that we do have a link in the show description down underneath the video where you can go and get the recipes. So you go to Elspeth's site, you register, but it's free, and you'll get an email with a download link so that you can download and print the recipes for everything that she's making today. Yeah,
it's all right there. And then I just always have a little bottle of water on the side, which I'm going to use to sort of deglaze the pan. Just add a very little water. I don't want to steam the onions. So I'm just going to, but it just helps get some of that nice caramelization off the bottom of the pan.
Okay. Elspeth, can I ask you, are you wearing a mic?
I'm not wearing a mic. Am I not loud enough?
Yeah,
kind of muffling.
It's for some reason, people are saying that it started to sound kind of muffled.
Oh, I think it could, maybe it's the sizzling of the pan.
Oh, it could be.
It's Zoom is doing it to block noise.
Oh, yeah,
Oh.
Zoom's doing it.
Have it talk
Yeah.
louder.
I bet you're right. It's from the sizzle of the pan. I bet you're right.
Okay, I'm going to turn the heat down and maybe we can play with Zoom. That's interesting. I've never known that.
I know I've never had that happen before either.
Huh. Oh, well, so now I've got the onion and the garlic. I'm going to add some ginger, which I also went ahead and minced in that same little garlic mincer. This is what ginger root looks like. I'm sure most of you have seen it. You don't need to peel it, but if you do want to peel it, I always suggest using a little spoon. This is actually a grapefruit spoon, which has a serrated edge, which is extra easy for peeling. But you can just use any old teaspoon and just, scrape off the skin. But you don't need to get everything off here. You really actually don't need to peel ginger at all. So,
I have always peeled it, so I've been wasting my time.
yeah, no, you don't need to do it. I mean, for some things I would, but most things you don't. So I'm just going to do that. And then I'm going to add in some of the spices, but I'm going to I don't want to talk over this muffled sound because it's really sizzling so loud. So anyway,
We can hear you though.
Just have it talk louder.
Yeah, we can hear you. It's okay. It's not completely muting you. It's making you sound a little bit muffled.
Okay. I'm competing with a hot pan here. And then I'm going to just add my spices. So what do I have here? I have cumin powder, gram masala, turmeric, coriander, and I'm just going to add this all to the pan and let that sort of toast up a little bit in this pan. It's instantly smelling incredible. So the garam masala is a sort of a mixture of spices. There's typically 5 spices that are in, and I'm going to turn this off here now completely because I don't want to burn the spices. So now,
do you have a particular brand that is your favorite?
Sometimes if I'm grabbing some, I'll grab Lakshmi brand. I just buy it in packets. You can also get, a lot of spice companies have beautiful gram masalas. You can make your own. I think of the 5 C's of the ingredients that have to go in it. I just added the potato and the butternut to here, and I'm going to add some frozen peas. So I'm just going to stir this around. So the 5 ingredients that are always in garam masala are coriander seeds, cumin seeds, cardamom, green cardamom pods, and cinnamon and cloves. And what I do is I'll sort of toast them up in a pan for a couple of minutes, and then I put them into a pestle and mortar, and then just grind it all up. So I grind it up, or you could put it into a spice grinder, otherwise known as a coffee grinder. A lot of people call them coffee grinders, but they're really spice grinders. And you can make your own blends. And then you can add all sorts of optional spices to them. So those are the 5 that I always would put in. And then you could add fennel or star anise or mace, bay leaf, and just make your own flavored blends. But for most people, that's too much work. I understand. So yes, you can buy all sorts of different brands. And I don't have a favorite one, but there are some great ones out there. I think Local Spicery might have one too. I know they have an excellent curry, a bocap curry, but I don't know. I haven't bought their garam masala. So.
The brand on the outside.
Right. So this is the filling for the samosas. And now we need to get busy on assembling them. So I'm just going to pull over a few things here.
Okay, while you do that, Elspeth, I just want to let you know that our mutual friend, Chef AJ, is watching, and she says hi.
Yay! Hi, Chef AJ. It must be fun for her to see us here.
Yeah, together, because
Yeah, and Reeves is here too. I don't know why she's watching YouTube instead of
having that baby.
having the baby.
She's a few days past having her baby.
Hold on to that baby, Reeves. Such a nice time whilst it's still inside. It's going to be really fun when the baby comes here, but I'm watching her beautiful Instagram photographs. Gosh, what a beautiful pregnant mama she is, huh?
She is, isn't she?
Yeah.
Okay, so this was ingenious to use the rice wrappers for the Samoas. I love this.
Yeah, so these are just spring roll wrappers, rice paper. It comes in 2 sizes. I'm going to use the 9-inch size. So these are, I love how beautiful they are. They have these beautiful etchings on them. You could use the smaller sort of rice wrappers. These are the 6-inch size, but it's a whole lot easier to work with these 9-inch ones. So I definitely suggest using the 9-inch ones. If you wanted for a party to have just little sort of finger foods, it's going to be a whole lot more finicky to make the little ones. I'm going to go ahead and use these large ones. So what I do is I just take a pair of kitchen scissors. Oh, and my oven is turned on to 425. So you can make them in the air fryer. I did include instructions for that too, because now I have an air fryer. For so many years, I resisted giving up the real estate on my kitchen counter here, but I finally gave in and got the Breville.
And it's so worth it.
It's so worth it. I use it all the time. I thought everyone was just like, you know, telling us they do, but you really do. So,
Yep.
Yeah. And if you want to know how to use the Breville, check out all of Tami's YouTube videos. She does a wonderful job. So this is a semicircle. I'm going to have some water. I just use the old pie dish or quiche dish. And I'm just going to soak the rice paper right here, just a little bit. You want to put it in for about 10, 15 seconds, but don't forget about it and leave it in here because you'll end up with a soggy mess. I've done that many times. So I just take the little drip, and I'm going to try to do it on a black plate because I think this might show up best to show you what I'm doing. It'll make sense in a little bit. So I've got my nice mixture here. I just want to make sure I've incorporated all of these flavors, and I've got all those spices going through all of the mixture. And it doesn't matter if I sort of mash a little bit of the potato butternut mixture. You don't have to use butternut, but I like the combination of butternut and the potato. So
well, it would add just like a little bit of sweetness to
yes,
it.
That's exactly why I like to put the butternut in, because it just rounds out the flavor palette. You know how you're supposed to have all those different tastes that hit your tongue, and this with that nice sweet part. So what I do is I take the corner of the, I wish I had that overhead camera that Tom has. So I take the corner of the rice paper and I bring the square side over to the curved side. I'll show you, I'll do it a few times so you'll get, and then I have a little corner left over here that I'm going to just pick up and wrap that over again. And we'll do a few of them, so don't worry. And then you have this open edge that I'm going to seal on the bottom. And the nice thing about the rice paper is that it's so pliable, and you end up with a nice little 3-cornered triangular samosa. I'm going to place these on a parchment lined baking sheet, which I will show you in a little bit. I just have a certain amount of real estate here. So I'm going to get going on the next one.
It looks so cute.
Yeah. So the triangular shape of samosas are the traditional shape. There are other ways of making them, but samosas are, or samosas, I grew up calling them samosas, but samosas are a traditional Indian street food. You find samosas being sold all over the place, and I'll tell you a little story about them in a moment. So this again is my semicircle. I pop that down on my plate, and then I'm going to grab about a heaping tablespoon or two and place it right in the center up by the straight side. And then I take my corner and I tuck it over. So I bring the straight corner over to the curved side. It's kind of like an arts and crafts project. And then I have extra little flap over here that I'm going to pull over, and I spin the plate around. I'm tucking this, I just tuck this bottom area in. So this is how these guys go. Tuck it all over. And as a child, I absolutely love samosas. These are typically, so again, I have a nice little triangular package. I'm going to pop that over there, and we're going to go for another round here. As a child, I loved samosas. I grew up on a farm in Zimbabwe, and there was a little dusty town close by called Chipinga, which was my hometown. And in this town, there was one grocery store, or one main grocery store, that I would go to with my mother. And there was an Indian family that lived in this remote Zimbabwean town, and they would make samosas sort of once a week. I think it was on a Friday. So if ever we went to the grocery store with my mother, which was always, I have 3 older siblings, and my siblings would always beg for candy or, sweets or, chips or something like that, potato chips. And I always begged for samosas. So samosas have been my thing since I was a little girl. I've always loved spicy things. So even as a toddler, I grew up eating samosas, but they were fried in oil. So this version is absolutely fabulous. And the nice thing about these is that they're also gluten-free. My son eats gluten-free. I eat mostly gluten-free. And so these are absolutely fabulous. So again, I'm going to take the corner over here, tuck it over, and bring the other corner over. And then I have a sort of an open cone over here. I just tap it in, and you get better and better at this. If you mess up the first few times, don't worry about it. It's still going to taste delicious, even if it doesn't really come out as a triangle. So I've got another triangle, and then we'll do one more just because it's going to look pretty for plating. And I've got this other half here.
So Elspeth, which way do you like to cook them the best, the air fryer or the oven?
I'm going to do them in the oven today. So here's the thing. I like to cook them in the oven, but I like to heat them back up in the air fryer. Is that allowed? A trick question.
No, I think that's great.
Yeah.
So you can make some extras and then reheat them. I had wondered about that with the rice paper.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, I'm going to the corner. I'm bringing it over. And this one's going to be a bit of a mess, I think. What I do is, and rice paper, if you have never worked with it before, it is finicky. So go easy on yourself. It's all right if you mess up. So if I put this down on the parchment, I'm going to bring the tray over in a minute. When I put these things down on the parchment paper, I'm not going to lift them up until I have baked them, because it'll just break the rice paper. It is kind of delicate. So when you cook them, you want to cook them for the full 20 minutes before you, so here we go. So here they are. So I put it down. I'm not going to go back and lift these up because they're going to be a little bit sticky, and then I'm going to break the rice paper. So I want to put this in the oven. I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. And then let's do that. So I'm going to pop those in and set the timer for 20 minutes. And then when 20 minutes is up, I'll flip them over and cook them for another 8 minutes. But if I have any leftovers, what I do is I'll put them in a glass storage container, put them in the refrigerator And then the next day when I want to heat them up, I'll just take them out and put them on the air fryer tray. And I put them on the, what is that? One of those sort of, you can just put it directly on the nonstick sort of grill liner that you talk about.
Yeah, the mesh mats, barbecue mesh mat.
And they heat up really well like that. So, yeah.
Okay.
But they are best if you can sort of time them for when they right out of the oven and you're ready to go. So what I do is whilst they're in the oven, I get going on making the chutneys, because not only is there flavor in this mixture, you're going to end up dipping them or spooning on some chutney. So chutney is going to add a whole lot more flavor to them. So that's really fun. So let me just move some of the stuff out of the way, and then I will set up for the chutneys.
That sounds perfect. You guys, I'm so excited. I told Elspeth that I haven't had the crispy samosas since like 2015 when I joined Chef AJ's plan. And that was about the time that I found out that I had a gluten sensitivity. And I used to make them. Of course, they weren't this healthy. So I'm so excited. And I have all of the ingredients. So I could actually make these today. So super excited. And this is, you can print the recipe, which I've already done. And then the chutneys, when you buy chutneys, they're so full of sugar. So to have Elspeth's chutney recipes is going to be such a game changer for all of us who love Indian food.
So I'm going to get going on the chutney now. So the first one I'm going to make is a mango tamarind chutney. And in my Indian cooking class, which is part of the Fall in Love with Flavor series, I messed up. I have a burner here that's a little sticky, so I need to get my lighter out, otherwise it won't ignite. So just pardon me for a minute. There you go. I need to get this burner fixed. I don't know why I keep forgetting. Anyway, so we have a pot here. This is just a little cast iron. This is a Dutch oven. I love to use this pot. I use it for everything. This is where I do my vegetables for breakfast, and I leave it out on my stove, and it just really encourages me to cook. So I have a pot here, and I'm going to grab my mango chutney recipe quickly and show you what we have. So I have, well, it's a mango tamarind chutney. In my Fall in Love with Flavor class, the Indian cooking class, I just did a mango chutney and I did a tamarind chutney. But today I've decided to sort of meld the two together and make it a mango and tamarind chutney. So I'm going to add some onions to the pot and get those sauteing. How many recipes begin with add onions to a pot and start to saute?
Well, every recipe should, right? Every savory recipe, because it's just so delicious. And this is so timely because mangoes are in the stores right now. And a lot of places, Whole Foods has them on sale. Costco has mangoes right now. And so this is perfect timing.
Yes, yes, indeed. And these beautiful champagne mangoes. I didn't grow up with these type of mangoes. We had mango trees on our farm, but they were those big, the big plump ones. We didn't have these kind, but I absolutely love them. So with this chutney, I could saute the onion a little bit, get a little bit of caramelization, or I could just, speed along and put everything in the pot. So here I have onion, I've got garlic and ginger. I'm gonna add that in here. I went ahead and chopped up a bunch of mangoes, but if I were to show you how I do it, I simply slice along. I always talk about mangoes as having cheeks. So the pit is right in the middle, and these are the little puffy cheeks. So I slice off a cheek of mango and around the seed like that. And then what I do is I just score it very tenderly with a knife. I don't know if that really works. Score it the other way. And then I can just grab a spoon and scoop out the flesh directly into my pot. So if I were to turn it inside out, this would be like a mango hedgehog, which you see on fruit platters and stuff. But that just gives me the nice size cubes that I want. So I just scoop all this mango flesh directly into the pot. And I'll do the same with another one over here. again, I just sort of score into the mango. I could also just scoop it out and then chop it up, but this is always fun.
Elspeth, we have a question. Ellen wants to know, does chutney freeze well?
I don't know if I've ever frozen chutney, but I don't see why it wouldn't. It's kind of like a jam in a way, like a spicy jam. So I don't see why it wouldn't. I've gone ahead and frozen some of this. Frozen. I have already used some defrosted mango. So you can use fresh or you could use frozen. So I didn't want to use all my delicious ripe mangoes for this chutney. So I went ahead and used some of the frozen just from Trader Joe's, the chunks. And that way it's all cubed up as well. So it's very quick. And then I'm going to add a few other ingredients. I have some medjool dates. So these dates I have pitted. I always have an extra container on the side so I can make sure that I have the right amount of dates and date pits here, because one date pit can certainly ruin any recipe. I'm sure we've all done that. So I'll just sort of roughly chop these dates. Most chutneys are really full of sugar. So I use dates and to replace the sugar in the chutney. I'm going to get this in the pot, and all these flavors are just going to meld together, and the fruit's going to break down and cook together. So I still need to put that in. I also add apple to it. So I just take an apple, and I think the recipe, I think I said one apple, but apples these days are enormous. So you don't actually have to use an entire apple. I'm just going to cut another slice here.
So can I ask you, Elspeth, is there a difference in flavor in the different mangoes? You said you really like the champagne ones.
It's more of a difference in texture. You know, like the champagne mangoes are sort of smoother. Like the mangoes I grew up with, and I find that the bigger, puffier ones are, they have a little more stringiness to the flesh. So it's more, the flavors are different, but I am no mango connoisseur. I just know I like mangoes.
Got it. I'm going to grab one that I have here.
So these apples, I don't take the skin off. I'm just using an envy apple. So again, just lots of fruit in here. And then I'm going to spice it up with some curry powder. But before I do that, I'm going to add some apple cider vinegar. So just about 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. A nice way to get apple cider vinegar in. And I'm going to add some curry powder. So about a tablespoon of curry powder. I'm using the Bocap curry. Oh, it's incredible, from Local Spicery.
I have that one. It's amazing. We have another question for you. The Bent Vegan Trucker wants to know if you have a recipe for a mint chutney, because it seems like a lot of them that she sees for sale have dairy in it.
Yes, so the next recipe I'm going to make is a coriander and mint chutney. So we'll talk about that. And what I like to do with that one is I like to add a little bit of unsweetened plant-based yogurt to it as well. So I know what you're talking about, the mint chutney with the dairy. So you can make this coriander mint chutney that we're going to make next, and then add a little bit of plant-based yogurt to it, just like a tablespoon or 2. There's some great yogurts that have really few ingredients. So the other ingredient I'm going to add to this mango tamarind chutney is tamarind. I'm not sure if people know what tamarinds are, but they grow wild all over India and East Africa. They grow on trees, and they're like these big hard pods. And I'm really sorry I didn't run out and grab some today. I absolutely love tamarins. They have a very hard pod. You sort of crack the shell of it, and then you're left with this sort of gooey, long bean in the center, and it's covered in like a sticky paste, and then inside are these hard seeds. So it does take a long time. I have done it many times, but I like to just sort of chew on them. It's really addictive because it's sweet and sour all at the same time. I can't even describe the flavor of tamarind. But the easy way to do it is to go ahead and buy tamarind paste. It's just one ingredient, tamarind. So I'm going to just use this tamarind paste, about a tablespoon in here or more, because I love the flavor.
Elspeth, our son-in-law is from Honduras, and he makes it's kind of a sweet beverage out of the fresh tamarind. And
wow.
It's really delicious. Really
What
delicious.
What does he put in it?
I don't know what all is in it. I'll have to ask him. I've had it, but I've never asked him what all was in it. But I bought some mangoes at Costco this week, but these have a lot of fiber. I know what you're talking about. These are very fibrous, but they did have the champagne ones as well. So I'll get those the next time I go.
Yeah. They're also called Altufo or something like that. And I buy big boxes of them. I'm looking at my kitchen table right now, and I have a big wooden bowl full with mangoes.
Oh, wonderful. I just love them. I love to make a salsa out of them. Yeah. They're just so delicious.
Yeah. So I'm also going to add a little bit of water, and then I'm going to sort of set it and forget it for a while. I'm going to lower the heat now because it was bubbling up really well.
So this makes a lot.
It does. And so I'm going to put the lid on there, and maybe that'll block out some of the sound of it. And what I do is I end up putting it in jars, and I keep it in my refrigerator in these nice jars, and it keeps for quite a while. I keep it in my refrigerator. I keep using it for a couple of weeks. It's really good. But to answer, I think was it Ellen's question, can you freeze it? I'm almost certain that you can. I just don't see why it would, be a problem. But these are the jars that I jarred in, which we might get to later. So
okay, perfect, wonderful.
Mango chutney, and then I'm going to just move this away and then bring over all the ingredients to make the coriander and mint chutney.
Fantastic! This is so exciting. Okay, is there another question?
Yeah, what about champagne mangoes and another one above that?
Okay, so
chutney, what do you use chutney
so
for?
Tracy was asking, she stepped away for a minute, what's the difference between the champagne and the regular mangoes? Mostly the fiber. These are a lot more fibrous to them. And so when you cut them, especially close to the pit that's in the middle, there's just a lot of little stringy fibers. And then the champagne ones have a lot less fiber.
And did you see Camille's question with the big red question mark?
And also the skin of the mango, the champagne mangoes are it's very thin. I know not a lot of people. I know some people who actually eat the skin as well. I'm sure Dr. Greger would do that, just munch into the whole thing. But it's a little chewy. I don't suggest it. The champagne mangoes do not require dental floss. That's what I'll say. So you know what I mean by that. Like sometimes they're big puffy mangoes, you're left with a few strands in there. So these do not require dental floss. And I'm holding on to this because after the show, this will be the first thing I do is I'm going to peel this and then nibble around the center here.
Absolutely. Camille wants to know what all can you use chutney for?
I use it, just on all Indian foods. As a child, I used to have grilled cheese and chutney sandwiches. That was a favorite of mine. So it's sort of that sweet, savory thing. So I have, we would always have grilled cheese, cheddar and chutney were the things we had. My husband uses chutney on a number of things. So what does he use chutney on? A lot of times when I'll make him a panini, he's always like, oh, can you bring out the chutney? So it's not just for Indian food. You could use it, on a hors d'oeuvre platter, just with crackers. And I make some cheeses out of nuts that are delicious. So I always put a little bit of chutney on a charcuterie board or something like that too. So
yeah, you could put it on a muffin. You could put it on top of your hot oatmeal. You could put it, if you do overnight oats, you could layer it or just put it on top of your overnight oats. But like Elspeth has some muffin recipes, and so do I. And you could certainly warm up your muffin and put the chutney on the muffin because it's kind of like a preserve. It's like a fruit preserve. It's so delicious.
Depending on how spicy you have it. So,
Mhm.
I like a lot of spice. So I tend to make it a little spicier than most people, but just figure out your family's flavor preference. And it's a great way to get these spices in that we know are so medicinal and so good for us. So the next chutney I'm going to make this is boiling a little much. Trying.
Okay, well, we have another question. Nancy says, are the champagne mangoes a smaller fruit in size compared to the regular ones you see in the store?
They are generally smaller. They're probably about 2/3 of the size, but I have had some rather large champagne mangoes, which have surprised me. But they're just a brighter orange. They're the other mangoes sort of have some green on them, greeny orange, but the champagne ones are, there's also another one called Keat or Kite, I don't know how to pronounce it, and they're the big sort of green ones, and they're delicious too. So in Costa Rica, where we visit often, you can find all sorts of different types of mangoes. These champagne mangoes, I think, are mostly from Mexico, but you could do a whole mango feast down there, which we've done many times in Costa Rica. In fact, in Florida, I think there's a mango festival once a year. I'm not sure what time of year it is, but there's a whole festival called the Mango Festival. So
wouldn't that be fun to attend that? And I know that at Whole Foods right now, they have the champagne ones on sale. And they have mounds of them in the produce department.
So this next chutney is a coriander and mint chutney. And so most of you know coriander as cilantro, but when we make Indian food, we think of cilantro, we call cilantro coriander. It's exactly the same thing. Or maybe there is some botanical difference, but I am no botanist. Maybe Nan, your guest from last week, would know. But so anyway, so this is some just fresh coriander. I don't worry too much about the stems. I take off the obvious big stems, but the cilantro or coriander, as we're going to call it today, the stems are very turgid. They're full of water, so they're going to be fine in my little food processor. I'm going to save my other food processor because I might be making a fourth recipe today, depending on how we're doing with time. So I'm just going to save my other food processor for that and try and squish everything into my little one here. So I've got coriander, and then I'm going to use fresh mint. So mint is coming in big right now in my garden. This is not from my garden. This is much bigger. With the mint, the stalks are much more woody, so I don't want to have as many of the stalks. So what I do is I've washed the mint, and I just sort of slide my sharp knife just along the stems to try and get them loosened from the stems as much as possible. So I just go all the way. I'm left with these stalks, and then I'll just go back through and see if there are any big stalks here that I can move out the way. And then I don't need to mince this up at all because it's going to be processed in my little mini food processor here. I'm going to pack that in. Oh, such a good smell. I've got the smells from here and the samosas and all this fresh herbs. Again, we're using, fresh herbs, which are just so good for us. And then I think in the recipe I said something about, did I say that, a small jalapeno?
Chili.
Green
Small
chili?
green chili. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think you really get small green chilies anymore. They're all on steroids. So this is a jalapeno. They used to be like normal size. So don't use an entire one. I'm going to use about a tablespoon's worth. Like if I were to mince this, it would be about a tablespoon's worth of minced up. So I very careful to cut around the seeds and the ribs here of this green chili, jalapeno, whatever you have available. So I'll pop that in here. I'm going to add.
We have another question for you, Elspeth.
Yeah.
Tova says, how do you download the recipes without adding your credit card information? I tried, but it wants me to purchase the whole course.
We didn't run into that.
But we didn't run into that when we went to your site.
So you don't have to put a credit card in it. unfortunately, with my website, there's no way for me to bypass that screen that's wants your billing address. I don't need your billing address, but it won't let you go past that. So you just have to put your email in, put your billing address in, and then just hit purchase. It's not going to take you anywhere to buy anything unless you're buying.
You don't have to put your credit card information in. It does not ask. It does not ask for it, because I did it and Tom did it just to test it.
Yeah, it took me about 30 seconds from when I logged on to printing.
Right.
So, and if anyone has any problems, I will send out a follow-up email. I'll be able to see if you've tried to get it and had no luck. I will send it out as an attachment later as well, probably on the weekend. Or if you're really impatient for it, just ping me an email and I'll get it to you. So don't worry about it. I don't want your credit card information unless you buy one of my other classes. Then you have to. My alarm just went off here, Tammy. So I'm just going to take these out and just show you what's going on.
Okay, perfect.
So I have these samosas here, and now I can pick them up very easily from the parchment. I'm just going to flip them over with chef hands. You can use tongs, but these are good. And I'm going to pop them back in for another 8 minutes. And so that'll help remind us. And I've got back to my mint and coriander chutney. I've got 6 cloves of garlic. And again, garlic cloves used to be a normal size, but now they're gigantic. So if you're afraid of garlic, you can put fewer in. I'm going to pop those in because I love my garlic. And then I've got some ginger root. Again, I did not peel this because it's going to be minced. I'm going to just, because I'm not using my big powerful food processor, I'm going to just cut it into smaller chunks. And then the other ingredients that I'm going to put in here is, I think it's some onion powder and some cumin seeds. So those go in here. And again, I'm going to use some apple cider vinegar, a little bit of that, and I'm going to use some lemon. So these are Meyer lemons. I bet everybody's enjoying the Meyer lemons right now. They're just so beautiful. So I just need about a tablespoon of it. And whenever I use lemons, I sort of cut it in half, and then I cut the top off here because I'm going to get a whole lot more juice out of this lemon if I've cut both ends. I'm just using my little handheld citrus press. And this is one of those tools that I use all the time. I take it as hostess gifts to my friends who aren't into cooking as much, and they all thank me so much afterwards. They can't imagine how they've lived without one of these little handheld presses. So that's it for the ingredients in here. Now I'm just going to hope that my little blender, my food processor here, can get this blend. You could do this in a high-speed blender. You could do this in a food processor. Either way, it's going to come out a little smoother and a little bit, runnier if you use it in a blender, but it's going to be a little chunkier if you put it in a food processor. So your choice. I'm going to just go ahead and make some noise here. Oh, you know what we forgot? Water. I need to add some water to this, otherwise we're not going to get anywhere. So a little bit of water. And I always seem to do this. I forget to add some salt-free seasoning and things. So I use Benson's Table or Mrs. Dash. I actually really like Mrs. Dash. So I might use some of that and a little bit. And I don't think I added salt-free seasoning or black pepper to the samosas or this chutney. So I'll have to add that in. Not worried about the samosas because, again, I'm going to have these chutneys to add a little bit of black pepper here. This will also activate the turmeric that's in the curry powder that's in here. And I'm going to add a little salt-free seasoning, but I can also taste it later on. Whilst I have this open, I'm going to just give it a little stir. I lost my spoon. 1 second. I'm grabbing it. I lost my wooden spoon. Here we go. Just give this a stir to make sure that it's not sticking to the bottom.
I can just imagine how wonderful the aroma is in your kitchen right now. Oh my gosh.
And I'm getting a facial at the same time.
There you go.
Yes, so here we go. So I got the lid on there. It's cooking down nicely. And let me get back to this mint and coriander chutney. And that is it. So I'm left with this absolutely, oh, it smells so good because I can smell the mint and I can smell the coriander. So I've got this wonderful, wonderful smell here. So let me just add this. I'm going to add this to a jar. And I'm also going to add a little bit to a serving dish so we can have that on a platter with the samosas when they're ready. So at this stage, I would taste this and then just adjust the seasoning. And for now, I'm just going to, so this I would just put in a jar and then store it in my refrigerator for whenever I want it. It's going to be nice and bright green right now. It won't stay bright green for days, but it will be nice and bright green for now. So the first day or two, it's still going to taste just as good. This chutney I use a little quicker than I use the mango chutney because this is not cooked. It's just fresh raw herbs. So I don't want to hang around. I don't want to have it hanging around for too long. Probably about 4 days would probably be right for this. So I'm going to hold on to that because we're going to use it on our platter with the samosas. I'm going to check on this here and see how we're doing. Oh, and I did hear the alarm go off. Wow. I don't know. I've lost track of time here. I think I set the timer wrong. So let's see. So here I have.
It's so easy to make mistakes when we're doing a cooking demo because we're thinking about so many things at the same time.
I know, and I don't love the timer on my oven. I was going to call out to Tiffany and Jesse, like, could one of you start your timer? My husband often does that for me when he's here. I'm here alone today. He'll say, okay, you've got 10 minutes left on the quiche or whatever. I'm like, okay, great, because this timer, I pushed the wrong buttons.
Yeah, it's easy to do.
Yeah. So to serve these samosas, what I like to do is I could do, it depends on what I'm using them for. So if I was doing an individual serving of them, I would just pop. So you can see they're really crispy and crunchy on the outside.
I can hear it, yeah.
And they're really warm and they look so good. I'm going to be crunching into these. This is going to be my lunch with a nice salad at the end. So I'm going to move this out the way. And
I wish I was at your house for lunch today.
That would be amazing.
It would. Oh, we have a question. What kind of Mrs. Dash do you use? Because she does have different flavors.
This is original.
Okay, perfect. The original.
Little secret. So why I did this was I used to use Mrs. Dash years ago, and then I happened to be glancing past my computer one day, and Nutmeg Notebook was playing, and Tom talked about Mrs. Dash. And I was like, wait, I used to love Mrs. Dash and I haven't used it in years. So I went out and I got Mrs. Dash. So Tom, is that one that Tom likes?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of Mrs. Dash flavors and I like both of them. One is
garlic.
As the garlic is actually milder than the other one because the other one has a lot of heat to it. And I just put a little bit of those in my famous dump soup, my pressure cooked vegetable lunch. To change up the flavors and then sometimes Costco's salt substitute. So I play with the spices a lot on my soup, like Tammy plays with the vinegars on her salads.
Yeah, no, so I love it. It's good. I mean, I use it a lot.
Hey, Elspeth, I need to clarify something here, and let me get us over on gallery view here so I'm not hogging the screen. The link for the recipes for today is a little bit further down in the show notes because you added that thing about your course. There's a $49 course that's for sale on the site, but in the show notes where you want to go is where it says here is the link to get the free recipes, crispy samosas, coriander mint chutney, mango tamarind chutney, the Speedy Vegan. So that's down a little bit further into the show notes because Elspeth does have this $49 course for sale. That's where it's asking you for your credit card and stuff. But the free recipes, go down to where it says here is the link for the free recipes. That link takes you right to where you can skip over that credit card information and hit purchase, and it'll show up as 0, and it actually gave it to us right away.
Yes.
So yeah, you're encountering the paid course. Get down to the free one, the free recipe link. Sorry.
Yeah. So so what Tom's referring to is that I do have, if you're enjoying these recipes here today and want to get more, I do have some a new class that's coming up. These were some samosas that I'd made earlier today, and I just kept warm in the oven just because I wanted to show you 2 different plating options. So, so the course that I have coming up is a Costa Rican inspired cooking class. My family and I have done many trips to Costa Rica, and in fact, my daughter and her husband lived in Costa Rica for a year. It's a absolutely magical country. We've been there many times, and every time we go, we think, oh, we should live here. The food is beautiful. The people are wonderful. They live what's called a pura vida lifestyle. So when you arrive in Costa Rica, you hear everyone saying pura vida, pura vida. It's sort of like a greeting, and it's an exclamation. It's just a wonderful sort of way, sort of seize the day type thing. And it means the direct translation is pure life. And it's a slower pace of life. They really encompass all their family members and friends. It's just, they enjoy life. So the pura vida lifestyle is what draws us back there every time. I've just added a little bit of cilantro to the top here just to garnish this. So I'm just going to pop that on top there. And then I could put a sprig of mint on top of this. I like to put whatever's in the ingredients as a garnish. So I'll put a little bit of mint on top of here. And there you have 2 presentations. So my class is a 2-part cooking series. It begins next Thursday, so 1 week from today, on April 28th. And then the second class is on May 5th. So 2 Thursday evenings at 6 o'clock Eastern time on Zoom. It's a live interactive class. I'm cooking in my kitchen, and then my daughter, who lives in Boston, Kaylee, she monitors the chat, and she is absolutely fantastic. And she does a presentation on some of the ingredients that are in some of the dishes that I'm going to be cooking, as well as highlighting some parts of Costa Rica that you should visit, and talks about the Pura Vida lifestyle. So she always does a fabulous presentation. We go back and forth together, and I have recipes in each class that encompass breakfast, lunch, dinner, a couple of smoothies, some different salads, some restaurant quality main dishes that are going to set you up great for summer. So click on the link to check out the Costa Rica cooking class. I would love to have as many of you as possible in it. All the recipes are sugar, oil, salt free, and have different options. I think there's a couple that have tofu, but for the most part, they're they are all whole food, plant-based, and really fun. So I'd love to have you. And if you can't join it live, you could always get the recordings. I send out the recordings to everybody the day after class, and then you can have those for forever. So if you're not going to be cooking now, but you're going to be cooking 6 months down the road, you can always pull back the recording, like, how did she do that? So that's what I have coming up, and it's $39.99 for the entire series. So less than $20 for each class. And
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And you always do so many recipes.
I do. Yeah, I've tried to sort of limit the amount of recipes, but it's impossible because there's so much I want to show.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I have one more thing up my sleeve here, Tami. Do you want me to keep going, or do you?
Yeah, sure. Let's see what you've got. Yes. If you've got the time.
I do. Yeah. So, so one other thing I'm just going to show you quickly, another way that I like to get spices in. If you go to my website, thespeedyvegan.com, there's a bunch of recipes there. And one of the recipes is for this spice tea. I think I call it Pure Life Tea. And this is filled with turmeric and fennel and ginger and cinnamon. And it's just a tea that I have the little paper tea bags that I put it in, and I add hot water to it. And this is the tea that I drink every day. So I just thought I'd bring that up since we were doing a whole lot of things with spices. So I'm going to do one very quick dessert here, because when Tami and I were going back and forth about what I was going to be making today, she said, everybody loves dessert. Why don't you do a simple dessert? And I thought about it and thought about it. And then I was like, no, I'm going to do these samosas once I eventually made up my mind. But then I had a little guilt trip yesterday and I was like, Tami specifically said dessert. And I'm not doing any dessert. So I decided, what can I do? And I thought, well, I have a spicy dessert. I've got sticky ginger spice bars. And they are the recipe I was the featured chef in Health Science Magazine, which is a fantastic magazine that's put out by the National Health Association. I know Tami was a guest chef once, and so was Tiffany. And Chef AJ has been many times. So this is a wonderful organization. If you don't subscribe to them, I highly suggest you do. But for the latest issue, this winter issue, I was the guest chef. And I was asked to submit recipes. And the recipes that I submitted are actually right here in print. And I love seeing them on my cook stand in the kitchen. It's like, oh my gosh, those are mine in print. But one of the recipes is for dessert. And I thought I would make the dessert recipe. They're called sticky ginger spice bars. So this is what they end up looking at, because I wasn't sure we were going to have time to make them. But they're these delicious little spice bars. And they are so good. And again, filled with these antioxidant rich spices. So I'm going to throw everything into the blender, make a little bit of noise, and then we will, and you can talk over the noise of the food processor. So let me just grab one more tray here.
Okay, sounds great. Oh, I'm so excited. And look at how beautiful the trays look there, you guys. Elspeth is just a master when it comes to plating. Her food always looks so beautiful. You be sure and follow her on Instagram and Facebook, because she posts her pictures of her daily food. Her daily food looks like restaurant quality or magazine quality photo shoots. It's just amazing.
Oh, well, thank you for that, Tami. Yeah, and so the recipe for this is in the National Health Science Magazine, the winter issue, but I am going to be sending it out every week. If you want to subscribe to my mailing list, I gave Tom a link to add to the show notes this morning, because I thought, well, I'm going to be doing this recipe and I'm going to be sending this recipe out tomorrow with my mailing list. Every Friday, I send out 2 free recipes. So jump on my mailing list. The email will come from Vegan News Daily. Don't be put off by that. I am the Speedy Vegan, but the email is going to come from vegannewsdaily@gmail.com. And I'm going to be sending this recipe out. So jump on the mailing list, subscribe. Every week I send out 2 recipes for you to inspire you to cook on the weekend. So first I'm going to add, I just have the S blade inserted here in my food processor. I'm going to add 2 cups of old-fashioned oatmeal. I'm going to add a bunch of dates. These are just the medjool dates. And again, I've been sure to leave the pits out. I've already messed up because I was supposed to put these in and grind these up a little bit first. These are just raw almonds. So just a little bit of raw almonds. And then the spices. So here I have, oh, so good, ginger. I just love ginger. I love the flavor of ginger. So ginger, turmeric, and some allspice. So allspice is an actual spice. It's not a combination of spices. It is its own thing. It is allspice. That's the spice it is. So I'm going to pop that in, and a little bit of dates syrup. So about a quarter cup, a little bit of there. And then I'm just going to let this blend or process in the food processor and show you what happens. So I don't know if you can talk over it. Feel free to talk over this, Tami. It's going to be a little while it comes together.
No problem. So you guys, that will be such a delicious dessert. And it looks like, because it's little bars, it would be great for taking places, because it's not going to fall apart with all the dates, the date syrup and the oats in there. So that looks like it would be a really good thing to make for picnics. And Tom and I like to take that kind of thing with us also when we do road trips or we go hiking. That just, oh, so yummy. And oats are so healthy for you. And the dates are replacing the sugar, but they add a lot of sweetness. But because they have the fiber, you won't get the rise in your blood glucose from them like you would if it was refined sugar. So don't be afraid of using dates in your cooking and your desserts and in the chutney, because they're still really healthy and you're getting all the vitamins that they have too, because they're not processed. It looks like she has a pretty good size, like a 12 or 14 cup food processor.
Right, I'm back. I didn't hear anything you said, so if you talked about
Okay.
me,
Well, I was talking. I filled in for us.
okay. All right, so I've just processed this very roughly in the food processor. What I do is I just grab a piece of parchment paper. You can do this in a tray. You don't have to. Because I'll show you what I do next. So I'm just going to grab all of this. I need a bigger tool here. Let's see. So what I do is I just sort of combine it together in like it's nice and sticky. So this is kind of like a nice sticky energy ball. These are perfect for, my husband is a huge cyclist, and we both love to hike, me especially. And these are great to pack in your little snack bag when you're going on a hike, because they've got that nice anti-inflammatory property from the turmeric and the ginger, and they are really full of nutrition. So you've got dates and the oatmeal and the dates, oatmeal, and something else in there that's going to give you all that energy that you need for your hike. So I make it about 3/4 of an inch thick or an inch thick, however thick you want your bars to be. And I try and fashion it into a somewhat of a square or a rectangle. And then I top it with some hemp seeds. This is all optional. Top it with some hemp seeds. A little bit on top.
That's a great idea.
And
I think my grandkids would like these.
They're so good. You know, it's like if you, I can't tell you how much I love ginger. I grew up having ginger snaps all the time, and this little bar here really scratches that itch, if you know what I mean. So then I just push some pumpkin seeds into it, pepitas, and what I do is I just sort of wrap this up and I put it in a bag and I throw it in the freezer and kind of forget about it. You don't have to put it in the freezer. I could go ahead and cut this right now into bars. But these ones here have been, so that's going to be, so if I just cut this into bars now, I could end up with these delicious different shapes. I mean, you can cut them into all sorts of different shapes, but these ones have been in the freezer. They were a little bit sort of drier, and that's how they end up coming out. And they are so good. So just a really quick, easy dessert, which is exactly what Tami asked me to do today, but I ended up doing all of this other stuff. So
well, thank you for doing all of those. Everything looks amazing, and I can tell you this is what I'm going to be doing when we get off. I'm going to be cooking these recipes because they look amazing, and I have everything to make them. We have some questions for you, Elspeth. So Marie Green says, I clicked on the link in the show notes.
I fixed that.
You fixed her. Okay.
Yeah, I moved in the show notes. I moved the free recipe link up higher in the show notes so that they would present themselves sooner. They were kind of buried down below some of the other information.
Okay, perfect.
Because the information about the paid course is in there. So I put
they were clicking on the wrong course.
I put a parentheses. This is the paid course link, and then in the paragraphs below is the free recipe link for these recipes.
Okay, great.
So yeah, it was confusing the way I had it laid out in there.
Okay, great.
And there's a couple more questions about classes.
So Claudia says, for the Costa Rica class, if you missed the live session, will you get the recording?
Yes.
Yes.
So what happens is that I'm going to be sending out the recipe packet. I've had this course for sale live on my site for a couple of weeks now, but and if you were to buy it right now today, it would send you a PDF telling you save the dates and tell you what's coming next. And one of the things that are coming next is April 21st, which is today. I will be emailing out the recipe packet. So it's a recipe book, color photographs for all the recipes in the book. I will email out those recipes today to everybody who signs up. And if you sign up tomorrow or the next day, you'll forget it too. And then 24 hours before each class, I'll be sending out the Zoom link with all the instructions on how to log into the class so you can join us live. If you can't join us live, not to worry. I will be sending out the recordings the next day. So they are password protected recordings. You can have your own playlist on Vimeo. I always say Venmo and Vimeo. Anyway, you'll have your own, little playlist with the classes right there, so you can watch it whenever or, rewatch it. So that's how that works.
Great. Thank you. Claudia has a question, Elspeth. She wants to know, during the live classes, can people ask you questions?
Yes, most definitely. My daughter will be monitoring the chat, Kaylee, and she's really good at answering some of the questions herself, and then she pipes in and tells me what people are asking. So I will not be able to read the questions. I'm going to be flying through my recipes and cooking and just be in this domain, but I can certainly answer any questions that you have. And we are going to do a little bit of a Q&A. A lot of people have questions about living the Pura Vida lifestyle and about traveling to Costa Rica. So we'd be happy to help with those questions as well. So it's not just food, it's also a little bit of culture.
I love that. Tracy wants to know, and you already covered this, but she missed it. How do they get the dessert recipe?
So for this, if you sign up if you subscribe to my mailing list, so in the show notes, there should be a link that says to subscribe for free recipes. That means you're subscribing to the mailing list, where each week I send out 2 free recipes. They're always sugar, oil, salt free. Some of them are a little fun, and they're usually pretty simple recipes. Sometimes a little more complicated. One of the recipes I'm going to be sending out in tomorrow morning's email is going to be for these sticky ginger spice bars that you simply must make because they are so good. But please don't blame me if you eat the whole lot, because they're not too sweet. There's nuts and dates and oatmeal and spices. So really good.
Yeah, it looks amazing. I'm so excited. And you guys do subscribe to her email, because on Fridays she sends out recipes. So if you do your grocery shopping on Saturday, or the weekends, or when you have time to cook, then it's perfect timing for that, because you get the information on Friday, and then you can, grocery shop and cook over the weekend her wonderful recipes. And everything is always foolproof. Every recipe I've tried of yours, Elspeth, has turned out perfect. And I love that you have pictures of them, because then I know, oh, okay, it turned out like hers. I did it right. I got it right. It turned out just like Elspeth. And just the plating.
I'm usually short on words but high on pictures. On my website, I don't write too much about the recipes. I have sort of the recipe, and then I have the pictures. So you make your own story by looking at the pictures, like, oh, that's how it's supposed to go. But it doesn't go my way. You can make it your way, but please make it and send me photographs of what you do make. So
yeah, I always tell people that recipes are just a start. They're just like the beginning. You can modify them according to your own personal taste preferences, because we all have different taste preferences. And so, feel free to modify them or to make substitutions. If you don't have the exact ingredients, you can substitute things too and still come up with a wonderful item. But if you're someone who absolutely needs a recipe, then we've got you covered for that as well.
Yeah.
So when are you headed to Costa Rica again?
Oh, not soon enough. We were there over the Christmas break. My whole family, my son and his girlfriend, my daughter and her husband, and my husband and myself, we were in Costa Rica over Christmas, and we were supposed to be coming home the day after Christmas, but 3 of us ended up with COVID. You have to test for get a COVID test before you got on the plane, and 3 of us had to stay behind in paradise. So one of us was not very sad about that at all. In fact, 3 of us were okay with that.
Right.
Yeah. We just had to quarantine, which was great, because we always rent Airbnbs when we were there. We had to jump. We had no plan. We didn't have any symptoms, so we were feeling okay. Maybe I had a sore throat for half a day, but I thought it was from the dust and things. Anyway, we had to go to a different Airbnb, and we just went and to a market, grabbed a whole bunch of food, and I cooked for 10 days, and we walked on the beaches early in the morning, and came home and did our little quarantine and cooked and had a wonderful time, and sort of hatched a plan for maybe coming up the Costa Rican themed cooking class, and I took a few months just playing with some of the recipes that we had when we worked in quarantine at some of the restaurants. And I was like, wait, I've got something here that has to be shared. So that's how I came up with the Costa Rican cooking class. So no plans to go back there anytime soon, but probably later this year. They're just heading into their green season now. They don't call it a rainy season, they call it the green season. And that starts right about now. And then it's sort of a little bit wet through the end of November. And then it's just beautiful again. So, I mean, it's beautiful all the time, but it's just a little more wet. So,
Oh,
Yeah.
it'll be so much fun when I love that you post pictures of the food and the beach and, riding the bike on the beach. And I love that you share all of that when you do go. I feel like I get to vacation with you.
That's the fun thing about being, what are we, middle-aged? I don't know. Later 50s is like, just like you don't worry about everything looking perfect and then like is everything in its place. It's like, you know what, I can put on a bikini and ride a bicycle on the beach and share it with the world. Why not? So check out my Instagram page. I have some bikini shots there, and I don't mind anymore. I think when I was in my 20s, I would have just died to have that stuff up online. But now I'm like, no, you got to live your life. It's all.
Oh, but you're so beautiful and you're in such great shape. And I'm sure you were in your 20s as well. How long have you been eating vegan?
So I've been plant-based for just over 10 years.
Okay.
If you saw a bear walking by, that wasn't a bear, that's my German Shepherd dog. Anyway, I have been vegan for 10 years. My whole family is actually plant-based. So did you want me to tell the story of?
Sure, if you don't mind.
Not at all. So I have 2 children who are in their late 20s now, but back in 2010, my son Kyle, who was 15 at the time, just randomly out of the blue announced that he was going to be a vegetarian. And I was fine with that because I really honestly thought that it would last a week. So I was like, okay, no problem. He was a real jock and played on all sorts of sports teams and just, he wasn't what I thought of as a vegetarian. But anyway, so he went vegetarian, and a year later, he was still vegetarian. So I was like, okay, well, this is ridiculous. You have to choose a protein. There was absolutely nothing wrong with him. He was flourishing and thriving and doing everything they were supposed to do as a 15, 16-year-old. But I insisted that he had to choose, pork, chicken, beef. You have to choose one of these. And I cooked him a chicken breast and sat him down on the anniversary of his 1 year being vegetarian. And I said, you got to eat this. And he just turned kind of green. And he was like, nope, I'm just not going to do it. And I looked at my husband and I said, well, I need to look into this whole vegetarian thing. So right around that time, Forks Over Knives had just come out. And so we sat and we watched Forks Over Knives. And my husband and I just looked at each other and was like, wow, he's onto something. We need to figure this out. So let's look into it. And we decided that we were going to try an experiment and do 28 days of, we weren't going to do vegan, we were going to do vegetarian. So we decided we'd do the vegetarian experiment for 28 days. But we had to wait until the day after my husband's birthday, which was a couple of weeks out. So day after his birthday, we stopped eating meat, and we, decided that was it. But that, when you learn something new, you sort of dive in and start reading everything you can. There wasn't a whole lot of stuff online, but there was some. That first week, I happened upon a video on YouTube by Gary Yourofsky called "The Most Important Speech You Will Ever Hear," or something along those lines. I need to get the exact wording of it. But it's Gary Yourofsky on YouTube, and he showcased all the atrocities that are on animals from eating dairy products, cheese, not just eating the whole animal. And I was just shocked. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I just didn't even see this. Like, how could I have, I was, 45 years old, and how could I not have known this? And, or just chosen not to know it. And so that helped me decide that vegetarian did not make sense for me at all, that vegan was the way to go. So from that moment on, I shifted over towards a more vegan lifestyle, and along the way, found Chef AJ and sort of made it more whole food, plant-based, and brought in some of the SOS free. I have heart disease in my family. My father died very young at 47 from a heart attack. So heart disease is rampant in my family, and I knew that I had some health issues, but learning about the animal side of it really solidified it all. So that's our vegan story. My husband hung on to some dairy and eggs for a while, but then reading Rich Roll's book a few years along, he realized that he could, still be the athlete he is and not have dairy and eggs. So he lost 20 pounds and energy went through the roof, and he cycles 10,000 miles a year and, runs and does all that. My kids became vegan as well. And so that's our vegan story.
Well, I love that the whole family ended up doing it. It just makes everything so much easier when you get together for the holidays and so forth. And it just, once you know all the information, you want your family to eat this way, So that's a wonderful story.
The first holiday that we came up to was Thanksgiving. And that first Thanksgiving, I was really nervous. Like, how is this going to play out? Because, is anyone going to come? It's I'm not having turkey. And so fast forward a few years later, I ended up making a whole book called Pardon My Turkey. It's on my website, and there's an ebook. It's $9.99, and there's, I don't know, like 40, 50 recipes in there. And it's all vegan Thanksgiving recipes. It includes appetizers, main courses, soups, and salads, and even breakfast for, visitors who stay over. So that's a book. And then I ended up doing a whole cooking course with more vegan recipes, just a couple of the same ones that are in the book. But there's also on my website, you can see it's a Pardon My Turkey 3-part cooking series. So there were 3 different classes and all new recipes for that as well. So it's been a fun, I've always loved to cook, but becoming vegan has been really fun. And certainly being salt, oil, and sugar-free vegan and whole food plant-based, it makes it more challenging to come up with tasty, creative, recipes that people will want. So I love sharing it. I love being creative.
And we're glad that you do. So you guys check out Elspeth's website, because she does have all of the cooking courses that she's done in the past are still available. You can purchase them and watch the videos and get the recipe PDFs. We have one more question for you. Tracy Reese wants to know, when was the last time that you went back home?
Oh, too long. Yeah. So I haven't been back to Zimbabwe in, it's been, at least 15 years. What happened is that my immediate family, my siblings, and my mother, she's no longer with us, but she moved to England, and my siblings all moved to the south of France. So every time, vacations would roll around, we would have to go to the south of France to visit our there. Because I have, 3 siblings, they all live within about 5 miles of each other, and they all have multiple children. I have 12 nieces and nephews who live there too. So we would end up going there rather than back to Zimbabwe and South Africa. But I'm so overdue for a trip back to Africa. I really, really want to go there. So yeah. And I'm wondering whether that Tracy Reese is the Tracy Reese that I know. So California.
Could be. It could be. That's so fun. Well, thank you so much, Elspeth. I know that everyone really enjoyed today's cooking class and all of the recipes. I'm excited to make all of these. And if you're interested in the Costa Rica class, you guys, the link is in the description underneath the video. So you can use that and go and sign up and take that. It's a two evening course, and it starts 1 week from today, and then it will be 2 consecutive Thursdays. Is that right, Elspeth?
Exactly, yes. So the 28th of April and the 5th of May.
And if you can't watch it live, you will be able to watch the replay of the cooking show. And of course, you will get the PDF with all of the recipes. And if you want today's recipes, there is a link underneath the video in the description for you to click on to get the recipes for free. And the dessert recipe will be sent out tomorrow in her weekly newsletter. So when you go to her website, be sure to subscribe as well and follow her on social media as the Speedy Vegan. So you hold on. We'll chat with you after we say goodbye with everyone. And thank you so much. This was just a wonderful presentation, and I'm excited to try the recipes today.
Well, I'm really happy that I got to get you dessert, Tami, because that was going to bother me if I. And thank you so much for having me on here. I love your community. It is just so uplifting to come onto your shows, read the live chats, the comments. Oh my gosh, what angels you have. I mean, Tiffany and Jesse are and Randy, absolutely wonderful. And all of your wonderful viewers and followers. You've really created a beautiful community that really makes the world a better place. And I can't thank you and Tom enough for everything that you do. Truly, thank you.
Well, thank you for that. We are very happy that we get to do what we do. It's so wonderful. And thank you everyone for joining us today. Please give us a thumbs up. That helps our YouTube channel. And thank you for joining us. And we will see you next Thursday. We will be back and we will.
Did we want to have Elspeth tell everybody goodbye? I'm wondering which screen to click here. So,
oh, she can say goodbye with us too.
Yeah, Elspeth, if you want to say goodbye and then put yourself on mute, and then we'll go ahead and finish up on full screen. So,
yeah, sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hang up. Okay, we'll talk to you in a little bit.
Bye. Thanks so much.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Are you on screen with me? Yes.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I have to look over there. Yes, I am. We're on this camera now.
Okay, excellent. So that's all we have for today. I'm Tami.
Are you going to make these recipes? Are we going to have some?
Yes, we are. I'm
Okay.
absolutely making these. Are you kidding me?
Okay.
That's what we're going to have today. I'm so
Okay,
excited.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, thank you. It's been an hour and a half. So yeah, we need to get straight to sign off. So
I'm Tami.
And I'm Tom.
And we help you get healthy
and stay healthy
one meal at a time.
We'll see you next week, same time, same place, and with another guest next Thursday.
Right. The author of the Fridge Love book, a new book. So that'll be exciting.
Okay, newsletter on Wednesday before. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, you guys. Thank you, Randy and Jesse and Tiffany. I always say Randy too. I can't stop thanking Randy.